Well, good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Aero League Racing's Monday Tier 1 setup, and it's Season 5, Round 3. We are heading to Monza today, and you join us on board at the start of the qualifying session here for the sprint race, and we're on board with Sick Boy, last week's sprint race winner, and here to take you through tonight's racing. It's me, it's Webbo, and very pleased to be back with you all. Do say hello, do tell us who you're here to support. I see RDO is here watching the stream as well, but I know who he's supporting tonight, I'm sure. But let me know who you're here to support, and what kind of times you think we're going to see from our drivers tonight. Remember, these are the Group 3 balanced for power vehicles. We're riding currently in the Mercedes with, as I say, last week's sprint race winner and pole sitter Sick Boy, as we head down towards the Rettifilio for the first time, and we head down and try and avoid that sausage curb as much as possible for the ideal traction out of the corner. Of course, Sick Boy out of the pits first, so I think he knows how I run my streams. I tend to give the first lap out to the driver. We're going through Curva Grande now. Nothing much to do other than point it in the right direction and wait for your braking point for the next corner, which is the Variante della Roggia. One wheel over onto the orange curve on both events, on both corners. I don't think that was necessarily the quickest way through before we had a short square down to the first of the two Lesmo corners. Don't take too much curb on the inside, he doesn't. And we wait for then the second Lesmo. You can usually ride a little bit of curb here, and getting the car out of the corner quite nicely, holding the minimum speed as high as possible before we go down the second straight on the track towards Ascari for the first time. Let's see, we should get a timing update for his sector, 1 minute 12, 140, as we tip the car gently into Ascari. No dramas through here, but sometimes you will see drivers on low grip conditions when their tyres are on their way out, having problems through Ascari. You note that Sick Boy's put softs on the front, mediums on the rear. A lot of chat in the driver room earlier about the tyre balance through here and what's the best. This is Curva Parabolica, temporarily named the Parabolica Arboreto, but I think we're going back to Parabolica. Down the main straight then, and it's a 148, very quickly beaten by Iggy, who was tucking down his chances as usual. Joe Royal in second and BR4 in third, Nobbles in fourth, all beating Sick Boy here on their first lap. Mackey's in sixth place, and we'll join, let's go for Mr. Berserk then in the VW in this distinctive Beetle with the very unusual dashboard arrangement, and he's just starting his next lap. So currently Mighty Iggy from Joe from BR4 is your top three. I think the Beetle is expected to not do so well tonight. RDO just giving me the information. Rainbow Energy is the new guy, and he's expected to do pretty well. Of course, last week we saw Joe in the Beetle, I believe. This week he switched round again. I think he's back in the Lexus, but I will confirm once I get on board or off board with him. So top speed and fuel consumption, a bit of a problem for these Beetles, but I'll take you through the championship standings at the end of last week, of course, as soon as possible. But I don't want to take my eyes off the track right now. Let's make sure that we get Mr. Berserk's lap in its entirety. So that's a personal best through into the second sector, using those tiny grey curbs just to straighten the car through the corner, and that was a nice exit from Ascari. He'll be hoping for a distant tow from the car in front. It's not super powerful, but I'll tell you what is powerful, the tow that I think RDO has got behind him on track. So it's about perfectly positioned here. Mr. Berserk will have mirrors full of RDO shortly. Whether he decides to not do any favours and pull aside to allow RDO to pass, that's another question. So we're going across the line. It's 49.0 for Mr. Berserk. So RDO talking up Rainbow Energy's lap times. He takes a very wide line, slightly on the grass there for the braking point. Let's get a look at his car, shall we? So, very smart livery in the Viper. Through the De La Roggia chicane safely. So practice going on for the drivers, of course, through the week in preparation for Monza. That looked very understeery. 2 bites of the cherry for the apex for Rainbow Energy, and a massive drift through the second Lesmo. He held it all right, but he'll certainly be able to go a lot faster than that, because that's going to cost him time all the way down this second straight, heading under the old track bridge here before looking for the ideal braking point. That looks to be about the 95-meter mark, but that was a huge slide again. So some big corrections to be made on the setup here, possibly even a change of tyre. I wonder if those rear mediums are just not hot enough yet for Rainbow Energy. He's certainly doing his best to put heat into them, but yeah, a little way off just yet. Tips the car in once again, a little bit throttle happy, a little bit of overspeed on corner entry, allows the rear to start getting loose, but sprints to the line then. I don't think this one's going to be special, but it's a 1:49.6. It does actually get within a shout of Blue Mosquito. I see that Pornage Town is about to finish his lap as well. Where's the start finish line? Thereabouts. He gets 10th. Let's ride with RDO then for a second, shall we? In the Aston Martin and the Vantage. Not far to go now, just under 2 minutes of this session to go. Looking pretty smooth, but maybe slightly wide of the track for ideal traction. I think the game will let RDO get away with these, but no, it's not quite where he wants it with the car. Softs front and rear, but virtually unworn at this stage for the tyres here. So very fresh on track. Cool tyres, I imagine, here at the moment. They're not feeling great for RDO, but as long as you've crossed that line before the 14-minute mark, I think you're okay to start your next lap. First lap was a 56.5 on his outlap. Joe Royal goes fastest, a 1:47.1. Beats out Iggy and Sick Boy. So that's your top 3 at this stage. And then heading for the line then with RDO, and it's into 10th. He had low expectations today. So just behind him then we've got in 4th place on the track, on the grid. It's that's BR4 in the white Mustang with the Swedish colours down the middle. How is Flying Frome doing in the Beetle? This is looking pretty handy at this stage of the track. Currently 5th, needs just 66/100ths of a second to improve his grid position. It's really a gamble. It's anyone's guess into the Rettifilo chicane for the first time on lap 1. The only good point here is that they will get another chance for the feature race, but as things stand, that this lap nowhere near good enough for Flying Frome. Let's see how Sick Boy's doing. Well, that's not an ideal line through Ascari by any stretch of the imagination. So whatever tow he's getting from the car in front, I'm not sure it's going to be enough. We'll ride with him temporarily because he is on track just ahead of Iggy. Iggy, I'm sure, on top in the championship, but I will confirm just in a moment. round to the outside of Parabolica. Goes Sick Boy for the line then, and any improvement this time? Not at all. Iggy going for the lap then, and again a much slower lap from Iggy. I think we have our starting grid. BR4 puts it on pole immediately, and right at the very death of the session, BR4 straight up there into first by nearly a second from Joe, and then Iggy and Sick Boy behind them on the circuit. BR4 on top in this qualifying session, and the cars all just slowing down now, finishing up their session. What a result there for BR4. We've got Joe in the Lexus. I was wrong. He was in the Lexus last week, and he's definitely in the Lexus. PJ says he's got a big toe on that lap, he thinks. BR4, well, it certainly worked, whatever he did, however he arranged it. But a 46.2 takes him on top immediately, and we're preparing now for our grid start for the sprint race immediately, straight away. Let's get going. It's BR4 in front. It's Joe Royal alongside him. BR4 on the outside, waiting for the lights. Here we go then. It's the start lights time. Excitement for the sprint race. It's raise the revs. It's drop the clutch and go, go, go. Several false starts happening there with the Viper of Iggy straight up into P1 right from the outset. What a start from Iggy, who nailed the launch, but the second, third and fourth drivers all going three wide into Red's Ophelio. It won't go quite well enough, but Sick Boy straight up to P2. Joe Royal in third place and sprinting away from the erstwhile pole sitter BR4, who finds himself down in fourth place and fighting with Nobbles, who's back in the series after a week away, and certainly on fire and ready to challenge the pole sitter down into the Roger chicane. But thankfully, everyone on the brakes. I don't think anyone's getting quite too happy. But BR4 over the curb once again. We got side-by-side action there between, was it RDO and Mr. Berserk? RDO getting a place on lap 1. And a penalty for Mr. Berserk, presumably for contact or running wide, as Blue Mosquito and Flying Frome go side by side as well, rubbing door handles. And it's Blue Mosquito jumping just ahead of Flying Frome, but Mighty Iggy is on top. But just behind them, we've got Joe Royal battling Sick Boy here for the second position as they head into Ascari. And no move from Joe this time. And PJ says his prediction is Joe, Sick Boy and Flying Frome. You don't even fancy Iggy anywhere near this. So let's see if that comes to pass. BR4 was quick last week, but he had a couple of errors that cost him dearly. Joe Roy down into Parabolica, and he runs wide and expertly avoided by Sick Boy, and they continue to trade paint as they go back round Parabolica. Sick Boy just ahead of Joe, and they're not working hard to fight with Iggy. They're fighting too hard with each other as they cross the finish line to end lap 2, and it is still Sick Boy just ahead, trying to sneak his way in front. I don't think there's going to be a lot of room there, but meanwhile BR4 stays ahead of Mackey's, who has got that gorgeous lime green and chrome liveried BMW Z4 underneath him. The Mustang should be good on the straights, I'm told, reliably, but the BMW trying to sneak the nose up ahead on the way towards Della Roggia, but can he do it? He leans on the brakes very late. BR4 got this corner wrong last time, and he's much more cautious this time, still using those sausage curbs, and Mackey's goes round the outside. It also opens the door for Nobbles, who's going to try and go side by side into the Lesmos. That's very brave, but he just about holds on. Too much overspeed over the grass. BR4 taking avoiding action like a pro, and he just about... No, he's pitched onto the grass, slightly on the gravel. The two cars behind them get through the middle. It's Pornish Town and Rainbow Energy who get ahead, and they were just sitting and waiting for that to go all wrong, and it worked out well. Fantastic stuff. So we've got Iggy, Sick Boy, Joe, Mackey's, Pornish Town and Rainbow Energy brand new on the grid in P6, with Nobbles and BR4 demoted down now to P8 for BR4 from that pole position. up at the front. Let's catch up with SietseBoy, who's got past Joe. Iggy's made a mistake. Iggy has had a problem. I think that might have been an Ascari. Iggy down to 3rd place, but SietseBoy is in the lead of this race. Let's see, is Iggy battling here? Yeah, something's put him into trouble here against Mackey's. Joe is following SietseBoy, but I think the attempt here is going to come between Mackey's and Iggy. Mackey's loving it, loving having a go at the championship leader here. Down he goes into the first part of the chicane, tries to close the door on the way out, but actually Iggy manages in the Viper to get around the outside, and beautiful driving from both of them, very cooperative. Joe Royal just staying within sight of SietseBoy at the front. Let's not forget about those guys, but here is the battle as they go towards Lesmos. Sorry, as they go towards Della Roggia. There we go. Mackey's ahead again. Behind is the we got the Mustang, sorry, the Viper battling with the Genesis. Rainbow Energy versus Portage Town respectively. But Mackey's got ahead there, and he seems to be staying ahead. He's got so much pressure with the championship leader behind him. Maybe Iggy's starting to feel the pressure of those championship points at this stage, or is it just this track and this day that it's not working out so well for Iggy? They go through then. It's SietseBoy in front from Joe Royal, who is staying within that slipstream zone. Oh, that looks like is that Rainbow Energy off the track on the exit of Ascari. Very easy to do when you're unsighted, and now BR4 fancies a place back. He's got loads of momentum around the outside, down into Parabolica. Very late on the brakes. Iggy and BR4 do battle once again, and what's BR4 got to do to win a battle today? Sneaking up the inside comes flying through him in the Beetle. It looks like we've got, that's Mackey's, sorry, that's Mackey's, yes, and Iggy doing battle once again. Iggy on the inside on the way into the Rettifilio chicane, tiptoeing around each other, never quite sure what the lag's going to do on the cars when you go that close to one another. We got action in the back. I think that's flying Frome off the track, is it? It was certainly one of the Beetles, possibly Blue Mosquito, having a problem. SietseBoy has the fastest lap at this stage. Softs on the car here for flying Frome. Mediums on Portage Town, who's now picked up a penalty. Perhaps he had an off-track excursion there. That's a pretty bad penalty to pick up, a 2.5 second. He's definitely going to be vulnerable down the next straight. So has Mackey's, has got a 2-second penalty as well. And now PJ spamming the comments, which is great to see, but now he's saying Iggy's got this. So he's switching allegiances. Didn't think Iggy would be anywhere in this race. Joe Royal trying to stay with SietseBoy and succeeding at this stage. That Mercedes working well, but I think the Lexus is doing well as well. Iggy trying now to stretch away from Mackey's. It's only a 10-minute race here, and we've had nearly 7 of them already. Sorry, a 15-minute race, and we've had 7 of them already. We're not anticipating pit stops from anybody. Is that Mackey's going slowly? Yes, because of the penalty. So Mackey's missing out there with the penalty. Flying Frome blasts past the BMW, and the penalty marker on this track really hurts. It hurts you all the way down that third straight on the track between Ascari and Parabolica. But this is the battle. You can see all 6 cars in the top start of the start-finish straight here as BR4 going around the outside of the BMW and squirming under the brakes, really leaning on those front tyres. BR4 can afford to lean on those tyres. He's got mediums on the car. What about Mackey's? He's on full soft tyres, and BR4 just needs to be patient. I know that they don't know what tyres and fuel their rivals are on. So the smart ones among them will be listening to the commentary if they can take it. I'm pretty sure RDO knows all about the tyre situation, because I know he's listening in, unless he mutes the stream on when he's actually on track. The Mercedes back there of Nobles gets past RDO into the Della Roggia chicane, and RDO's also got a penalty now on the car as the Mercedes is sliding around the Lesmo. Number 1 Will those tyres reach the end of this race for Nobbles? That doesn't look very very likely, does it? I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. The way that his gamer tag is written, it should be Nobles with a silent K, but I'm going to go with Nobbles until I'm corrected. Otherwise, Joe Royle is now within half a second of the lead and is picking his time here to attack. He's been patient on those tyres, but his advantage with the softs on the rear will not last long. Just as I say that, he's racing car number 63. He's got Nicky Lauda and the Alice charity on the car as well, but that was a definitely a Code Brown moment in the cockpit of the car. Big slide into Parabolica for Joe Royle. All the sting out of his attack suddenly dissipates. Here's a bit of an ongoing battle though. Mackies versus BR4. BR4 got him at the line there. He's just sneaking the car ahead, and I think Mackies is going to cede the corner this time. Continue to just about get the cars down to braking performance. BR4 struggling for traction out of these slow corners. You have to say, whether that's track positioning, tyre condition, or the characteristic of the car, it's hard for me to say. The Mustang is definitely favoured for top speed around here, and can certainly drive on past the BMW, but can he get the car down? He seems to be struggling on the brakes and definitely struggling in the second part of these chicanes as Mackies gets a beautiful drive out of the corner. Again though, we wonder how long those tyres are going to last. The Beetle running super low on its wheel arches, and he won't be able to do that very often on the exit of the corner. Up at the front though, after 6 laps, it's Sick Boy on top from Joe Royle and Mighty Iggy. Sick Boy turning out to be something of a sprint race specialist here, when strategy has less to play into it. I like the custom livery, the custom signature on the side of Flying Frome's car. That's pretty smart. And the battles continue, and continuing to have problems is that Viper of Rainbow Energy on the way out of Ascari. Definitely struggling here. Portage Town in the Hyundai, depending on your on your preferred pronunciation. PJ says softs are dying. It does look that way, PJ. Good spot. Absolutely. Let's go back up to the top. Well, BR4 might be tempted to have a go here. Look at that top speed on the Mustang. Gets down the outside. Mackies gives him that outside because he knows he'll still have the nose ahead. And a little bump from the rear from the Mustang as well. That's going to be a very pretty front of a car, ending up very ugly at the end of this race if we do too much of that. But we've got... so who's on the softs? Well, we know that Iggy's got softs on the front. He wasn't very happy with the idea of splitting the axle. Joe Royle's got a penalty here on the soft tyres, and that's going to hurt on the way in the next time down the third straight on the track. So watch out for him losing a second and a half plus plenty down that straight, with Iggy coming up behind him. So Joe Royle on full softs. We've got the mediums on the rears for the first and third place drivers currently. Flying Frome is on full softs as well, front and back. So let's see what Iggy does here. I'm pretty sure he'll see the indicator on Joe Royle's car. Joe slowing on the right hand side of the track. Very sporting of him to do that, but that means second place goes the way of Iggy, and now Sick Boy needs to start concentrating and wondering whether Iggy's going to launch an attack. We'll keep an eye. It's 2.9 seconds, that gap between the two front runners. Joe Royle will try and stay with Iggy if possible, but it's going to be a difficult job with soft tyres on the rear that are almost 50% gone on the rear left. It's certainly a problem. It doesn't appear to be quite so much of a problem for the Beetle. So the balance of the Beetle doing wonders for Flying Frome at this stage, but we have still got another 2 minutes to go. Once again, BR4 too deep on the brakes, and Mackie's just patiently waiting for the mistake to get on past. PJ says we've got a battle at the back. Yeah, we have got a pretty mental, pretty tight one here. You've got 8th place Nobbles from Rainbow Energy, Mr. Berserk and Blue Mosquito. But I need to make sure that our front runners, and we take care of our front runners as well and know where everybody is. RDO has dropped a lot of time here and is struggling on the soft tyres. Up at the front, it's SietseBoy now, 3.1 seconds. Was he holding on to a bit of extra pace from Iggy, who's got a 1.4 second gap here to Joe Royal. Still always a hold your breath moment every single time you go through Ascari. So it's never guaranteed, especially as the tyres are going. I'm pretty sure that's over 50% wear now for Joe on the rear right, rear left of the of his rear left of the Lexus. Mackie seems to have dealt here with BR4 for now. Let's just check in. Yeah, they're definitely, that gap has opened out. I've got side-by-side action between Mr. Berserk in the Beetle and Blue Mosquito, appropriately enough, in the bright blue Genesis. Heavy on the brakes. Mr. Berserk leaning on the front axle beautifully and hanging on there. I think he's got the overall pace on the car. We're about to hit the 15-minute mark. Here comes the Beetle to the outside of the Viper that was slow down the main straight. This is the final lap. It has been confirmed because we've just passed into the 15th minute, and the VW Beetle, the Dodge Viper, went straight through the Beetle that time. Rainbow Energy getting a bit of an advantage there from some ghosting on the car. Joe Royal has picked up a 2-second penalty. He is completely out of this battle. I'm pretty sure that it's SietseBoy all the way here. He's held onto those fronts quite nicely. 3.6 seconds of a gap at the moment, so he's extended the gap to SietseBoy, held us to some pace at the end of this race, and he knows that this is now, he can use everything left in the car. Still got a quarter of a tank of fuel. That'll be interesting information for him. Perhaps too much fuel than he had planned for. Pitching it into Ascari for the final time in this sprint race goes SietseBoy. Iggy surviving as well. Looks like Joe leaning on the outside tyre, but hanging on. Flying Throne will manage to do this one. Oh, a massive deal here for the battle for 5th. Mackies will have a 1.5 second penalty. That'll gift the place over to BR4, but it looks like it's going to be SietseBoy once again. SietseBoy with consecutive sprint race wins. SietseBoy across the line then to win in Monza and take a healthy chunk of points. Over the line comes Iggy for 2nd place. That'll do his championship no harm whatsoever. Flying Throne got the 3rd place in the end after another penalty being paid by Joe Royal at the end there, just trying to cope with those tyres. BR4 gets the 5th ahead of Mackies. Pornage Town in 7th. Mr. Berserk got ahead of Blue Mosquito on the final lap, and it is Rainbow Energy, RDO and Nobbles. So we have front and back Mercedes for our race. So brilliant stuff from the drivers. Hope you all enjoyed that one. Remember, we'll have a short break now while we assemble the new lobby for the one-shot qualifying. Am I right? I believe we have one-shot qualifying followed by a 40-minute race. So we'll be there for you shortly. I will just get you the updated standings. Well, I will get you the standings as of the start of this race, if I don't hear anything further. Welcome back, everybody, to the one-shot qualifying session. We've got Flying Frome in the lead of the train of cars at the moment. Currently, Iggy is. We've got updated standings. Iggy's on the lead by 10 points on 83 from SietseBoy. Pending an investigation by the stewards, BR4 is third on 69. Mackie's on 59. Then Joe Royal on 51. Simon on 40. And so on down the order. But it's Flying Frome heading into the Retrophilia chicane for the first time under this one-shot qualification. He's on hard tyres. They won't be particularly warm. He's got Joe right behind him, but he's got the clearest track ahead, which is good for him, but bad for top speed, of course. So we will see how he hangs on to the car nicely through here. Get the clearest view possible on track, of course. And then we can go through the order of the cars as they cross the line. But down into the Retrophilia with a big amount of first sausage curb from Flying Frome, then through the Lesmos we go. Just one wheel touching that curb on the inside. Uses every inch of the track. And again, just a couple of stabs of throttle with a big lift and back on again from Flying Frome. Doesn't look like Joe had a massively better run through there either. And we wait for the braking zone into Ascari. That's not a particularly quick time, but he is on the hard tyres, remember, Flying Frome. Joe possibly catching in the middle of Ascari there in the rear view mirror. You can see on the left of the screen. Heading towards Parabolica then. Don't put your tyres on the grass there, Frome. Tyre squeals as he tries to wrestle the car into the apex of the Parabolica. Waits for the release point, and we go to the line then for Flying Frome, quickly beaten by Joe Royal. Blue Mosquito next, he's faster, so is SietseBoy, and further down then we've got well, stopping on the line, Joe Royal. That's not ideal for the other drivers. SietseBoy still on top from Iggy and Nobbles currently. Who's left to run? It's the Hyundai of Pornage Town heading for the line then. He goes no faster, P9 for Pornage Town. Mr. Berserk for the line next. He's straight up to P2 on soft tyres for Mr. Berserk. So an interesting difference of approach there for Mr. Berserk. Over the line goes Rainbow Energy, just sprinting with the half-second penalty. That didn't register a time for him. And very typically RDO in the Aston coming around to finish off the qualifying session for us. Full throttle to the line. He's got a very busy start-finish straight in front of him, and he goes 10th. 10th on medium front, hards on the rear. And PJ says, RDO's not last. Haha, yes, well, that's fair comment. RDO was hoping not to be last. That was his main aim. And they're all stopping, lining up, and waiting then for the rolling start of our 40-minute race still to come. SietseBoy on the pole position against Mr. Berserk this time. Iggy down in 4th, BR4 in 3rd place. So let's have a quick look of tyres. Softs on the front, mediums on the back for SietseBoy, and the rolling start is underway. I'll catch you up with tyres once we get our race going. But SietseBoy and Mr. Berserk definitely favouring the soft tyres on at least one axle. And it's go for the feature race here in the Tier 1 Monday in Monza. SietseBoy down, he goes towards the Retrophilia for the first time, and this rolling start will definitely help the drivers. But the Mercedes, the second Mercedes is trying. BR4 gets it very wrong and plows into the leader SietseBoy, and once again BR4 getting the braking zone way too late. That helps Mr. Berserk straight up into the front, into P1 with Iggy right behind him. That did SietseBoy's championship bid no help whatsoever. He'll be fuming in the cockpit. There's plenty of racing left to go, but the only real advantage for using those softs right now was to stretch away from the drivers at the front. It's Iggy on mediums and hard tyres, which should wear at a fairly similar rate, who is in 2nd place from the all soft tyre shot, Mr. Berserkin at the front. There is SietseBouma still in 4th, so it's not the end of the world for him, but he's certainly not on very good tyres here. Next comes Mackey's. BR4 down in 6th, recovered the car ahead of Joe Royal and Flying Frome. And then we've got RDO in 9th, Pornish Town in 10th, then Rainbow, Blue Mosquito, who failed to qualify properly for this feature race in the one-shot qualifying. Back up at the front though, let's go back and see this three-way battle for the lead, and it is Mr. Berserk still leading Iggy by half a second, Iggy by, yes, half a second, who leads Nobbles himself by half a second. Almost identical gaps between the drivers here, but Iggy gets the entry into Parabolica a little bit wrong, or is that the soft tyres on the braking of the Mercedes of Nobbles showing its superiority? And round the inside then goes the Mercedes with a better traction, better braking. Should be a nice clean pass, and Iggy not fighting this one too hard. He knows there's a long way to go in this race yet, well, he'll suspect that they're on soft tyres given the difference in performance, I'm sure, but no need to do anything silly at this stage of the race. PJ says the Viper got bad brakes. That's the first I'm hearing of that kind of a complaint, PJ. But you may well know better than I do. Certainly, it looks like the Mustang is struggling on its brakes, doesn't it? BR4 just not adjusting to the earlier braking needs that he has against the other drivers. And several times we see him going wrong and heading towards the apex of the second turn of chicanes rather than the first one. But at the moment holding off Mackey's Gherkin, who is still doing battle with BR4 after a whole sprint race in each other's company. But it's at the front still Mr. Berserk, the Dutch driver from Nobbles, then Iggy, SietseBouma, BR4 and Mackey's your order at this stage of the race. Now let's have a look at tyres then while we've got the opportunity. Of course, softs for the front two on both axles. Then comes medium hard for Iggy. Is that Nobbles about to make an attempt here into Parabolica? Not quite. Again, squirreling on the brakes. SietseBouma has picked up the pace considerably after being rear-ended or T-boned, I guess, by BR4 getting the braking zone wrong. He's not exactly covering himself in glory tonight, BR4, after picking up a penalty for incorrect tyre usage. And then taking out the pole sitter. They go side by side into Rettifilio. Nobbles quite sensibly keeping his powder dry, not going too far. And PJ says go on Island. So obviously cheering on the Emerald Isle. And SietseBouma starting to catch the pair at the front as well now, and he's got past Iggy beautifully on the soft front medium rears for SietseBouma. And then getting a PB in towards the Della Roggia chicane. BR4 starting to gap Mackey's, who seems to be really struggling. Is that a tyre problem? Well, BR4's on hards. So is, well, no, actually, there we go. Mackey's is slipped down 3 places. It's Joe Royal on hards in 6th. It's Flying Frome on hards in 7th. It's Pornish Town on hards in 8th. And Mackey's having a devil of a problem going through or approaching the Della Roggia chicane and losing 3 places in one go. Clearly an off-track moment for him, but Nobbles has taken the lead. Nobbles for Island for Mercedes AMG has taken the lead on the way into Ascari from the second place Mr. Berserk in the Beetle, who is aware of poor fuel usage, he says, so he may need to continually refuel this car. He'll be long in the pits if that's the case. And Iggy starting to, well, it looked very aggressive on the rear bumper of SietseBouma. But these two are the challengers for the championship at this stage. Remember, only 10 points the difference between SietseBouma and the mighty Iggy at this stage of the championship. We are only in round 3, but every round counts, of course, and the feature race worth many more points. SietseBouma collecting double sprint race victories, but couldn't convert his pace into a feature race last week. Will tonight be any different for him? PJ saying hards are bad here. Interesting. Well, certainly Iggy is making hards on one axle work at the moment. He's living with these soft runners and soft medium runners ahead. So you've got to fancy Iggy later into this race. He doesn't need to make a move at this stage on SietseBoy, but of course he doesn't know that. He doesn't know for sure what tyres his rivals are on in front. So we take stock on lap 4. Nobbles still leading from Mr. Berserk. Waiting for those first pit stops. Will be a little while yet, I think, but still over half a tank of fuel. Plenty of life left in these softs at this early stage. Lap 4. Remember, the soft tyres did get to the end of the sprint race, although I don't think they did. They were much fun for anybody driving on them. We're expecting high fuel usage as Iggy tries to tuck one up the inside into Parabolica. SietseBoy's minimum speed was a good deal higher. But that's exactly it, PJ. Iggy should just be lifting and coasting to the corners here and gaining down the straights if he wants the best advantage later. As long as the leader stays within an undercut distance of Iggy, he can afford to coast this. But again, I hate to repeat myself, but he doesn't know what the guys in front are on in terms of strategy, unless he's listening in to us, so maybe he does. Let's catch up with the rest of the field, shall we? P5, BR4 in a lonesome race at the moment, which might help him just focus on those braking points, feel the car underneath him a little bit better than the sprint race and lap 1. Then Joe Royal in the Lexus is in P6, hopping over the curb there, but getting a good launch. Joe Royal in 6th place, again a little bit on his own, flying foam likewise on the hard tyres. These hard runners have definitely separated from each other. Mackey's is on his own as well, with a big gap then to Blue Mosquito, also on the hard tyres in the Hyundai Genesis, with the other Rainbow Energy's other Viper here down in 10th place, and there was a lot of talking up of his chances earlier on. Looks like he's got good one-lap pace, but can he translate it to a 40-minute feature? Down in 11th, Pornagetown, also in the Genesis. I think that's a default livery as well. So, is that default livery? I think so. A little bit of slightly embarrassing for Pornagetown. And then RDO at the rear in 12th place. Again, though, mediums on the front, hards on the rear. Should be able to do a full tank of fuel on those tyres, no problem. Back to the leaders though, and Nobbles maintains his gap. In fact, slightly extends his gap to Mr. Berserk here. And yeah, the Beetle getting onto the brakes nicely. Good control into the corner. PJ says the Hyundai is a very nice car. Well, are you talking performance or the way it looks? Because performance-wise, the game does definitely seem to be favouring the Japanese marks, doesn't it? You have to say, Japanese cars generally seem to get the better of the overall performance. Oh, Iggy! That looked like he was about to ram the AMG of SietseBoy. He needs to be very careful, because a big problem like that could see him penalised and SietseBoy profit. SietseBoy needs to put some brighter colours on the rear of that gorgeous Mercedes, doesn't he? Because people are getting very close to ramming him. So 148s so far for SietseBoy, apart from lap 1. Iggy has had the last 2 laps in 48s, but second lap was a little bit slower. It's a good metronomic pace here from SietseBoy. Lap 6 now, about to become lap 7. You can see the additional fuel usage here of the Beetle. He's under half a tank where everybody else is over half a tank, but I don't think the soft tyres on the rear of that Beetle are going to last a full tank of fuel for Mr. Berserk. I think he's going to need to stick some hards on and fill the car to the brim, really top it off. But yeah, you're right, PJ, 5th place definitely being gapped here, but BR4 very much on his own at this stage. Expectation at the start of the season was that Mr. Berserk would be mid to rear of the pack from the driver notes I was given at the start of this season, but so far really overperforming. Big slide at the rear, just leaning on those rear tyres that little bit too much, Mr. Berserk, as the softs really starting to get past their best. It becomes a question now of how much race pace do you lose trying to hang on to your soft strategy. I'm sure he'll be down in the 49s this lap because he's really dropped the gap here to the leader, Nobbles. Remember, just the front two on full soft tyres. There was a 49.2 for Mr. Berserk that time round. So if he can recover things and just start to adjust to those rears, he'll be okay at this stage. But surely the pit lane is calling fairly soon. He knows, though, with this difficult tyre, difficult fuel usage inefficiency, I guess we should say, on the Beetle, he needs to use the full tank of fuel each time to stop him having to make an extra stop. So yes, P5 is very much on his own, PJ says, and then everybody else is battling busily. Well, maybe RDO might be at the tail as well. Maybe he's just letting everybody get a false sense of security and he'll pounce later, but he was certainly talking down his chances at the start of this one. Having said that, so was Iggy, and I'm learning very quickly. I'm very new to the league. I'm only it's my second race evening with them, and I'm already learning not to necessarily believe Iggy when he tells us he's got no pace. Let's have a look at Joe Royal then. Well, he's a little bit on his own out there, and then flying from, then we've got Mackey's Blue Mosquito and Rainbow all within sight of each other as well. Well, Mackey's have a go here towards a scurry, because these hard tyres barely even started to be used. It doesn't look like the hard tyres are a good tyre at all, because they'll just run and run way past your fuel usage. So very much looks like it's the mediums. Got PJ saying that thinks RDO is battling on the map. Ah yes, there we go. They were battling so tightly it looked like one arrow. Here he goes then for an overtake. He's got the Genesis on the inside, just squeezing ahead, and I think RDO perhaps just biding his time here. He's got perhaps the favoured tyres on the front axle, but I'm assuming by the rules that they have to use a different compound on each axle later in the race. As the sky starts to cloud over a little bit, there's some dark clouds in the sky above the Cathedral of Speed here in Monza, but the top speed on the Vantage, he's just not got anything, has he? And he's really problematic for RDO. This is a definite race to just take the pain and hope you stay in the hunt if there are DNFs or penalties later on. Just take the pain and see what you can do. But Mr. Berserk now continuing to struggle on those soft tyres, getting up to about 60% on the rear left. The most limited tyre around here with those long sweeping right-handers. So 1.1 seconds. I think that's the first time the gap at the front has opened past a second. But I think that Mr. Berserk is trying to get a couple more laps out of these so that he can just fuel up the once. 16 minutes gone. So if you can pit in 2 more laps, let's say, you should be able to fuel to the end, even if you're in a Beetle. And he shies away from the pit line once again. SietseBoy coming up from the rear now, and will have better traction on those rear tyres. And there he goes, gets the power down just smoother and more consistently. Mr. Berserk not really putting up much of a defence, but he shouldn't really. He's fighting the tyres more than he is fighting for position. And then there goes the Beetle, falling straight into the clutches of Iggy. So what does Berserk do here? I think he'll be fine on mediums, right? If he puts mediums on. And now the AMGs are facing a slightly difficult problem here of who gets released. That looked like Mr. Berserk still staying ahead of Iggy, but in terms of fuel wear, it looks like SietseBoy's been doing a much better job, and unless Nobble's short fueled, which is highly possible. Oh, I was just going to say they cooperate, but they definitely touched. You won't see the traded paintwork because they're painted the same colour on these 2 cars. But SietseBoy gets into the lead. He's now 2 clear places ahead of Iggy, and potentially on a good place here for this race. He will presumably have to put the mediums on the front and potentially the hards on the rear for the end of this race, but he's got better fuel in the tank than Nobbles, his teammate, who quickly drops back into the clutches of Mr. Berserk, and the Beetle, who goes a long way around the outside, holds on to the marbles there. A little touch, and he's helped towards the pit lane by Iggy. Makes a late decision to pit, does Mr. Berserk. Nobbles in the pits ahead of him, and with only 18% fuel left on Nobble's car, that releases BR4. It will soon release Joe Royal and Flying Frome. There they go, through past the erstwhile front runners, and that also will see Mackey's, Blue Mosquito, all these guys at the back who are running the hard tyres or a medium hard combination out to the front. That sky looks pretty evil, doesn't it? There is RDO's Aston up into 10th place now. Barely used the hard rears at all on the car. You're asking about crossing the white line. Well, I'm not sure whether Beetle, I think you're referring to Beetle, right? And you can't split the tyres in the pits, says PJ. So that's it. Very, very interesting, because it is the favoured way to run the race at the moment, is to split those axles. Look at the fog and mist down on the second straight. Through the Curva del Seraglio they go, and the mist is really settling on the circuit. I wonder if we're going to be in for some weather tonight. SietseBoy, though, in the lead, 2.3 seconds now from Iggy. And SietseBoy still with over a quarter of a tank left. So what's his option here for tyres? He'll have to go hards, won't he, for the end of the race? We're not quite at half distance, but surely SietseBoy will be forced to use the hards if you can only select the one set of tyres for the pit stop, to ensure that both axles wear different tyres over the course of the race length. But yeah, you're right, PJ, good call. The track could be cold and slippery, and that's really going to hurt the drivers who've just come in. There we have Flying Frome in the pits. I'm slightly surprised, but he is driving that Beetle. So Flying Frome enters the pits. What's the decision on tyres? Is it going to be mediums? I feel sure he'll put mediums on. We haven't got an update on the car yet. It's currently still reading those hard tyres. Mr. Berserk did put mediums on. Flying Frome in the pits, still reading mediums. Come on, game. Let's tell us what tyres everybody's on. Nobbles went for the mediums as well, so he's running soft medium and should be fine to the end of the race. Audio yet to pit, some 4 seconds ahead of Nobbles, who was of course front running earlier on. Oh, a penalty on the car for Blue Mosquito as he hunts down Mackey's. Suggestion of oversteer? Well, let's watch the cars closely with the track conditions. They'll feel it out of the second Lesmo, I think, before they feel it anywhere else. And certainly the Curva del Serrallo on the second straight seems to be problematic for the drivers. Mackey's lights ablaze as the fog descends. What's fog in Italian, I wonder? Is it La Scura or something like that? Rainbow Energy in P7, a little bit on his own here. Again, debut with the league today, but the big battle at the moment is the 9th place vantage of RDO against Portage Town's Genesis. It's certainly a battle in the middle of the circuit, but I don't think it's a battle when it comes to the straights. Look at those lap times, so much difference to the other drivers for RDO. Just can't get the pace, but what he'll try and do is to get this race completed on pure consistency. There we have pit stops for the leaders. Sick Boy in the pits, was it? Sick Boy just coming out of the pits now. Would he get himself ahead of the 7th place Genesis? Leaning on the brand new mediums. That's a risky game. Steps over the apex of the corner just to make sure he gets the position. And there we have Sick Boy making the move and keeping that 6th place. That's pretty important for later in the race. Iggy hasn't pitted yet, of course. Neither have the other hard-running drivers of BR4, Joe Royal, Mackey's and Blue Mosquito. But in terms of race-changing positions, that was really important for Sick Boy. Out in new mediums and away then with a 3/4 full tank of fuel. He's certainly able to save a good amount of fuel through the race versus his teammate, who's on the obviously got exactly the same fuel consumption. Where's Nobbles right now? Down in 8th place. He's got a 3.7 second gap to Portage Town in 7th, and RDO slipping back and back. I think had a difficult lap or an off moment. Is he in low fuel potentially for RDO? Seems like he's at fairly decent speed, 155 down the second straight. So definitely pit stop time with the light flashing on RDO's car. But we go back towards, and BR4, the first of the hard runners to pit now, having drained the tank in the Mustang. Unsurprisingly, the Ford Mustang not particularly strong when it comes to fuel consumption. So BR4 into the pits, P7 Portage Town into the pits as well, but it looks like Blue Mosquito able to go through, and that's just helping Sick Boy's race no end. Iggy's still out, still hasn't pitted. He's trying to get through to do a one-stopping soft run at the end of this race, and we've got about 15 minutes to go, just over 15 minutes. We're on lap 14. And it is Iggy from Joe Royal, Mackey's and Blue Mosquito. These drivers yet to pit and all separate on the track. Further back though, this is where BR4 came out of the pits into P7th, and now Mr. Berserk, I'm sure, put a brand new set of a full tank of fuel, but I think he's got a job here to get that car to the end of this race on a full tank of fuel. PJ says Mackey's and Blue might get a good result out of this one. Well, here's hoping. We like to see new faces towards the front of the grid, keeping it competitive. The last thing we want is a done and dusted championship too early. 10 points, remember, separating after the previous round, the previous sprint race, I should say, between Mighty Iggy and Sick Boy at the moment, who on track at least with the leader around the Parabolica and Sick Boy just heading into Ascari. I'm not sure he's got enough of a gap here. Well, we'll soon find out, because Iggy's in the pits on 8% of fuel with 15 minutes to go. It's Iggy in for mediums, That's interesting. So, or Iggy in off mediums, So will he try and go soft tyres here? Blue Mosquito goes past Iggy, Joe Roll and Mackey's are in the pits as well. Where will that release Sick Boy? Well, he's well out in front of Iggy here. So medium tyres on Sick Boy. Iggy's gone medium on both axles. That means that Iggy will have used mediums on the front axle twice. Now that's interesting. Is he banking on a late stop for fuel or tyres? Or is he going to try and get away with that one? No soft, says PJ as well. So that's pretty interesting from Sick Boy. That'll be a talking point later on in the chat, of course. I'm not sure. I would have thought that the rule should be that you use a different compound on each axle. So I was expecting to see soft tyres go on Iggy's car and us to have a real battle between Iggy and Sick Boy on different strategies. But Nobbles has got himself back into net P3 here. Blue Mosquito enjoying better fuel consumption than anybody else on the circuit, getting an extra lap at least, more than anybody else. Everyone should be on relatively even amounts of fuel, apart from if you're driving a Beetle. As the Genesis into the Ascari corner. I don't know, PJ, can you give me information on this? How did the cars get decided? Was it a lottery situation? Did you have a lotto wheels sort it out for everybody? Or did people get first choice based on results of the previous season? So, Blue Mosquito still leads this race, technically. I'm anticipating he's heading into the pits. Yeah, fuel flashing. Look how little tyre wear the Genesis has suffered through the race. Into the pits he comes. Did he get the car slowed down for the pit lane? That didn't look like it, did it? Sick Boy then takes the lead then once again on the start of lap 16, and he's off in the lead. PJ says he thinks they choose. Well, there's clear advantages and disadvantages between the cars. So here we go. BR4 bringing himself back into contention all of a sudden. He's put soft tyres on, that's why. So he's gone, I think, what's that, hard to soft. So he's got to do the rest of this race on those soft tyres. Can't afford to take too much out of them. And but he could bring himself back into this one. He's on the strategy I thought Iggy would be on, which is to go hard then soft and avoid the mediums altogether. Now make of that what you will, but he's playing it safe, putting softs on both axles, and a 46.5 for BR4 last lap. Loving it on the softs, isn't he? And PJ says Hyundai and Lexus and Mustang are the best here. Yeah, certainly in terms of top speed, they're great, and certainly able to make the fuel work as well. But this Mustang chasing down Nobbles now with some amazing speed. Nobbles is on the medium tyre, and they've been fitted a little bit longer. That looked like Iggy just wide coming out of Ascari, unless it was still the dust from Sick Boy having gone over. But I think the Mustang will have at least enough top speed to fight with the Mercedes down towards Parabolica. He's got the inside line as well. He's got a narrow entry. He'll try and hang this out wide for a good exit all the same. And the Mustang through to P3 for BR4. So slightly scrappy start of the race, and there will be an asterisk next to his name. He's weaving somewhat around the straight, but he's got the inside line, which is what he wanted to break down into the Rettifilio chicane. PJ says a 46 is esports level. Well, that lap appears to have been deleted now from BR4. So did he find a little did he find a little shortcut? I wonder. Up at the front, it is Sick Boy from Iggy. Sick Boy on the mediums, Iggy on the mediums too. Question mark over that decision from Iggy. Another question mark for BR4's crash at the start of the race. I don't think he suffered an actual on-track penalty for that, but I would have thought Sick Boy might have words afterwards. But I don't think there'll be particularly severe words if he wins it in the end. 46.5, that lap has been reinstated for BR4. I'm not quite sure what to make of this happening. But let's see, I think Iggy was catching, but I think now he's going to have as much concern about BR4's ascendancy as he is about catching his championship challenger here currently. Sick Boy, remember, just 10 points off the lead of the championship. One, two, three, and four. Head into the end of lap 17 with 9.5 minutes to run of this race. Still Sick Boy from Iggy. Now it's BR4 in third, and Nobles dropping back in fourth place. Again, trying to get that car to the end of the race, and he has suffered much greater fuel use than his teammate. Even at this stage, if you compare fuel amount, Sick Boy could have underfueled considerably more than he did do. PJ says he's A-rated and he does 149s. Yeah, these guys are pretty rapid, aren't they? And for me, it's the combination of speed and consistency that is the absolute kicker for anybody's hopes of competing at this level. These are very, very accomplished drivers. I'm sure they're putting the hours in, but there goes Iggy over that. It's starting to feel the pressure through Della Roggia. Big hop of the car across the chicane, although the speed wasn't affected too much, so I suspect there may have been an element of lag in that. Welcome if you're just joining us. I mean, if you are, where have you been? But the tale of the race so far is that Sick Boy is trying to convert a sprint race to a feature race win. Iggy is trying to hang on to the lead of the championship as well, and starting and again sideways, getting too much oversteer. But it's not power oversteer, it's turn-in oversteer on the Viper at this stage from Iggy, who has plenty of wins to his name, but far from a clean sheet now, as BR4 is coming up behind him, perhaps running the strategy that Iggy should have run with a strict or a particularly favourable, a particularly punitive reading of the rulebook. I'm sure we'll get clarification on this. I thought we had clarification earlier on, but another great lap from BR4. Still has the fastest lap, and he screams past Iggy across the start-finish line and is stretching that lead rather than giving the slipstream up. Can he soak up the pressure and manage to break into the chicane? No such problems as the first lap and the feature race and the sprint race for BR4, and up into second place. Now, how greedy is he feeling? Does he go for it, or does he consolidate that second place because the soft tyres? He's still got to get another 6 minutes out of these tyres, and he's dangerously close to 50%, where a big oversteer moment for BR4. Have to be cheering him on here because he's faced with the two championship contenders. He's in the middle of both of them. He needs to calm down and get it going. Hi to Simon, who says he's just finished work. That's a pretty good reason for being late to the race, Simon. But yeah, it's been a good evening's racing, as you would expect. Very hypnotic to enjoy these guys. I don't want to take my eyes off this battle for the front, but I also don't want to ignore the guys at the further end of the field as well. But we've got a question mark, Simon, over the tyre choice, and perhaps you can help me here. Iggy has run the same compound on the front axle, on the rear axle, I should say, on both stints. Now, do you only have to use one axle different compound, or is he faced with a potential penalty situation? I think it's a 1 minute penalty for running the wrong tyres in a race, so that is pretty punitive, and we're expecting BR4 to have that penalty applied for the sprint race for exactly that problem. Getting the car neatly into Rettifilio, but not neatly out of Rettifilio is BR4 once again. Sick Boy and his laps are they're tailing off a little bit. He had a really hot lap out of the pits there of 47.9 for him, but not amazing. So Simon says that, Simon says, excuse me for that, but he says as long as he's used 2 different compounds on any axle, that's okay. All right, okay, fair enough. So we'll remove that question mark from Iggy's race then. SietseBouma leads by just half a second now. Remember, it's soft tyres versus mediums here. BR4 with the advantage, but maybe not for much longer. Here comes Iggy with a good run out of Ascari. BR4 is absolutely hanging on to these tyres. PJ says SietseBouma deserves the win. I think I have to agree. He's been very impressive, but you couldn't begrudge BR4. I suppose SietseBouma probably would begrudge BR4 after nerfing him in the first corner. That's a big feature of the race, Simon, as well, is that BR4 outbraked himself into the first corner and T-boned SietseBouma. They both plummeted back. Now there goes SietseBouma, nervous of a move from the Mustang. He's going to let him through. He knows his main championship fight here is against Iggy, and he focuses fully on the exit of the Rettifilio chicane for now SietseBouma down in second place. I do think we've got a big asterisk against BR4's finish here, and I'm sure that if SietseBouma finishes behind him, he'll be launching an appeal for that maneuver that appeared to go unpunished by the game. But SietseBouma puts in a PB sector 1 while getting overtaken, so getting a tow for the first time in a long time helped him manage to get that PB. Here we go then with SietseBouma heading into the Lesmos. He's now suddenly starting to enjoy the tow. Now, what does he do here? For my strategy, I would say let BR4 manage the race. Let him either make a mistake or drag you forwards and away from Iggy, so you have a chance to be the hunter on the final lap. That's got to be my approach. But yeah, Simon says that he's wondering where his teammate is. I'm afraid he's at the tail of the field, if I remember correctly. SietseBouma just weaving behind BR4, letting him know he's there. Let's just, yeah, RDO is 5 seconds off the back of the P11 driver and 50 seconds off the leader. He won't suffer the ignominy of getting lapped this race, I don't imagine. But SietseBouma now has a fantastic tow on the back of the Mustang, who will not give him the inside. SietseBouma to the outside then, and puts the squeeze on BR4 into the braking zone, as he's absolutely got the right to do. Tries to go side by side, but he knows BR4 is loose on those brakes down into the chicane. BR4 hit the concrete barrier, I think, trying to straight line the Rettifilio, and he finds himself all the way back. That was very smart strategy from SietseBouma, but unfortunately it has allowed Iggy to close up. Now Iggy is running mediums, as is SietseBouma, so it's a fair and clean fight to the end here. We are on the within the final minute before the timing screen tells us what to do and go on the final lap. I don't think we'll make the end of the race. I think this will be the final lap. The guys know it, and a 2-second penalty for Iggy for going over the apex puts this one almost out of reach here for SietseBouma. Surely we're about to cross the threshold to make this the final lap, as SietseBouma, what a maneuver to just allow BR4 to make his own mistake. In they go towards Ascari. They'll come out of Ascari and they'll be told it's the final lap, I'm fairly certain. There is the 2-second penalty on board Iggy. That will demote him, and he'll try his best to use the slipstream. He's trying too hard. He's trying far too hard to use the slipstream to make up for that maneuver, because the Mustang cannot close in on the back of SietseBouma. SietseBouma, with one corner just parabolica to go, tries to get the car towards the acceleration zone, kicks up a few marbles, but he's going to make it a double win. SietseBouma, fantastic work, wins again, and this time he wins the feature race. Looks like BR4 ended up second. Iggy's, he did lose out down in the run towards Parabolica. So BR4 getting second place from Iggy. Nobbles makes it an AMG Mercedes 1-4, and Joe Royal in 5th place. Congrats to Joe. Then comes Mackey's on his final lap last time, and crosses the line in P6. Next up, Mr. Berserk in the Beetle. The two Beetles finishing 7th and 8th, and with their fuel usage, look at how little fuel Flying Frome has got left in that Beetle. Just did it on 2 tanks of fuel. Blue Mosquito in 9th. Rainbow Energy in 10th place leads home the Genesis of Pornish Town. Ardio will be plumb last, unfortunately, but the plaudits go to Sick Boy for a perfect night's racing. He didn't get fastest lap in the end. That went to BR4, but everything else that matters, it was all Sick Boy tonight. Tremendous stuff. Immediately BR4 with an apology in the chat there to Sick Boy for lap 1, but there is Sick Boy's victory. He got pole position in the one-shot qualifying. He's got pole position and the sprint race victory, but tremendous stuff. Really, really enjoyed that one, and congratulations to our drivers for that finishing performance. Brilliant stuff. Hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. Make sure that you've subscribed to the channel, you've liked the video before you disappear on us, and if you do want to follow us, make sure you're following me on socials at WebboRed5, and you'll find out every time I go live. I send the link out. But from me, Webbo, from everyone at Aero League Racing, make sure you're hanging on to your hats and tuning in same time next week and all through the week on the channel. But for now, we will catch you on the next race day.